Do you want to improve at recoil control? You found the right video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new tutorial. This video, it might be a little bit lengthy, but I'm promising you guys after watching this entire video and implementing some of the tips and tricks I'm going to give you guys, you will 100% at least improve a little bit at recoil control. Of course, the basic is practice makes perfect, so it will take some time, but with these things you're at least going to improve quite a bit. Alright, so as you can see, we have a controller cam going today. For the mouse and keyboard players, still watch this video. There's some very important tips I have for you guys in this video that are worth watching. For the controller cam, it might be a little bit interesting, especially for the controller players. But there's some tips and tricks that anyone can use, no matter what platform you're playing on. This is a controller edge. It's not plugged in right now. For anyone who's accusing me of Cronus, I do not use Cronus, obviously. It is a controller edge, so it's got the back buttons. On this one I have heal, and this one is jump. But it's pretty much a normal controller. Also no control freaks. So quickly going into position of this, it's not very important for mouse keyboard players, but I have the left thumb, I just put it on there. As you can see, not really any thinking behind it, and this one I put against the rim. So you can see the difference in how I hold my thumbsticks. I feel like I can be a lot more precise using it like this. So now we got that into the way. Now we're in an aim trainer. So there's unlimited bullets, as you can see. I can just hold down the trigger. It's a great way to practice your recoil control. I'll leave the name of this server in the description in case you want to practice this. There are some bots you can kill there as well. So just so you guys know. Okay, now a huge thing for field of view is the visual effect of recoil. So I'm gonna display you guys a little bit of an important tip right here. As you can see, I mean, it went up a little bit, but there you go. That's recoil control with ADS FOV on maximum field of view. You can find your field of view right at the display settings. Now we're going to lower this. I'm not used to this setting, so the recoil control might already be a little bit worse than what it normally would be. And then we're going to turn ADS FOV off. Watch what happens. As you see, the recoil control, it's pretty similar. As you can see, I'm obviously a little bit more used to this one. As you can see, the recoil there looks pretty much somewhat similar. Even though the recoil looked like it was a lot worse. That's because there's a visual effect when you play on the default settings. What you want to do is you want to try and higher your field of view. You don't have to have it max. I would not recommend, because it's harder to see players like this. And then you turn ADS FOV on, which means if I turn it off, you'll see I'll still zoom in a lot. If you turn this on, what it means is you will keep your field of view even when you're ADSing. It zooms in a little bit, but not much. As you can see right now, the recoil looks like a lot less than what it normally is. So that's one of the big settings. Now another setting is sensitivity. Now this is important to watch my thumb. This is also for mouse and keyboard players. The lower your sensitivity is, the more you have to drag your thumb down if you want to control recoil. So we're gonna display this. If I control recoil, you have to watch my right thumb right now. This is my normal settings. I'm gonna shoot. You can see that I placed my thumb a little bit down. It's not all the way, but you can see a little bit of a difference. This is kind of what it looked like if I don't control the recoil. Now we're going into the settings right here. I'm gonna lower my soldier aim sensitivity. We're gonna lower it a lot so you can see the difference a lot. Let's say we go 30 here, and then we go on the zoom sensitivity. We can keep this to 50. This is a percentage of your normal aim. So now I have 50. Now watch me trying to control recoil. It might take me a little bit of time to get used to it, but watch this. How far my thumb goes down. You see the difference right now in how far I have to put my thumb down. It is a lot of a bigger movement, and it takes a while to hit the perfect spot on your thumbstick, pretty much. It's even that bad that I believe if you put this at as low as possible, you cannot literally control your recoil because your sensitivity is too slow. I'll see if I can show you guys this. Now I have my thumb, you see that? I have my thumb all the way down, it doesn't go further down, the recoil still goes up. So the lower sensitivity you use, the more you have to control your recoil. If I let go, it's going to go up a little bit faster. You can see it makes barely no difference right there. So make sure that when you're using a sensitivity, it also matters how much you control your recoil. Also, when you keep on switching your sensitivity, it's going to be harder to build muscle memory and control that recoil. So again, we're going back to what I'm used to. And I'll show you guys one more time what the difference really is. So I play 90 on the soldier and 50 on the zoom. For the full settings, by the way, there is a link in the description. Here we go again. Now watch my thumb. Do it right here. As you can see, my thumb is not moving much. And eventually hit the sweet spot. Usually the first few shots are a little bit harder to control, but after a while you start kind of beaming. Now that's the first thing with settings. Very important. On to the next big tip is recoil patterns. Every gun has different type of recoil, but in Battlefield 2042 you gotta understand that it is a very consistent type of recoil. We'll display it as you guys could have probably already seen previously. The M5, it goes pretty much vertical a little bit to the right. As you can see right there, it has a pretty steady recoil. So what you have to do is you have to pull down left a little bit. It's not much, it's not as much as you may think it is, but if you pull down and a little bit to the left, you should be able to control the recoil. This is why this aim trainer is really good. As you can see, I'm pulling down and to a little bit to the left. It's hard to see because again, I'm using high sensitivity, so it is hard to spot, but a little bit to the down and to the left. We're gonna use this on a different weapon. So here we have the K30. This one has a very vertical recoil, but as you can see, the spread is huge on this weapon. So you can control this the recoil on this gun perfectly fine. You pretty much have to pull straight down, which makes controlling the recoil fairly easily, even though the rate of fire is quite high. The only problem is, which hopefully I can display, I was kind of shooting the center right here, and you can see the amount of bullets that go across. So recoil control is not everything, and it's not going to make you 100% accurate. There's nothing you can do about the spread besides, as you can see right here, tap firing. Then it will always go in the center. So if you're trying to kill players from long range, tap firing is still very valuable, but doesn't always work. Onto a different thing right here is that semi-automatic weapon recoil control. As you can see right there when we were shooting there, automatic guns have a very predictable recoil pattern. They will usually go up in a straight line or go up or horizontal. They are very learnable because the rate of fire is always consistent. With semi-automatic weapons, you don't have this. You are the one who decides how much recoil the weapon gets. For example, I'm going to keep my thumb completely off the thumbstick. If I shoot right now in a very slow pattern, you can see the gun will always come back to the same spot and will be accurate. If I start shooting faster, you can see the recoil go up. So with semi-automatic weapons, you want to make sure that if you shoot the weapons, you have a very consistent rate of fire. The faster you're going to shoot, the further you have to put your thumb downwards, or your mouse, of course. So with semi-automatic weapons, it is not the hardest guns to control recoil with, but keep this in mind, is that if your trigger finger is inconsistent, it is very hard to control recoil with semi-automatic weapons. So you need to have a very consistent rate of fire. If you sometimes go fast and then sometimes slow and then sometimes fast again, it's very hard for you to control recoil on semi-automatic weapons. A little tip right there. Now these are some big tips that I don't think a lot of players know, is if you're crouched or you're prone, you make it easier to control recoil than when you're standing up. Also, when you're standing up and you start to move, it becomes even harder to control the recoil. So you have step 1, strafing and controlling recoil. This is the hardest way to control recoil. Then if you stand still, that's a lot easier already. If you go crouch, it's even easier, and if you go prone, it's even easier than crouching or standing up. Keep that in mind, especially when you use LMGs or weapons with more bullets. You can go crouch. You'll see me a lot of times where I'm going for longer range targets. I crouch in the middle of the gunfight. I have crouch on R3, by the way, as you can see. So I can crouch in the middle of a gunfight, which makes it a lot easier to control recoil than when I'm standing up. Especially the first bullet of every weapon in Battlefield 2042 has the most recoil. The first few bullets will have a lot more recoil, and then the recoil pattern becomes more predictable. So if you crouch, you kind of counter this and make it a lot easier to especially control those first few bullets. Now the last step is putting this into practice. So what you want to do is you want to find a nice field of view that you like. This doesn't have to be max field of view, because this is just, again, visual recoil. If you like 90 field of view, go with that. If you like default field of view, go with that. I always recommend going as high as possible until you start to not see the enemies anymore. And the ADS FOV on or off also doesn't matter, but for visual recoil control, you want to turn this on and have a higher field of view. The ADS FOV effect doesn't have a big of an effect if you use a lower field of view. You will really start to notice the difference if you use max field of view or high field of view, and then you turn this on. Just to keep that in mind. So once you find that, and a nice sensitivity, of course, doesn't have to be the same sensitivity that I use, you can put this to practice. Again, I'll put a link to this server in the description. And what you want to do is you want to start shooting these bots, of course. You want to start off easy. Pick one gun. Go maybe prone, and start controlling recoil from there. This is the easiest way to control recoil in this game. Then you want to go a little step further, go crouch. You'll start to notice there's a little bit more recoil. It is not the biggest difference, but just to go crouch. Then the next thing is, of course, standing up. And the last step is to go strafe. One thing that's very important, or two things that I would say, is stick with one gun for a while to learn the recoil pattern well. Especially when you're new to the game, you want to kind of learn how to control one weapon instead of being able to control a lot of weapons. So you learn the recoil pattern just like that. Also, the attachments in this game, especially the barrel attachments, can change the recoil pattern quite a bit. So keep in mind to try and use the same attachments for a gun, so you really get to muscle memory down for a gun. And you can start practicing from longer range, of course, and eventually you're gonna try and beam players literally across the map and have the perfect recoil control you can possibly have in this game. Hopefully this video was useful. Let me know if it is. If you have questions, leave them down in the comments, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.